It's your favorite time of week, baby. Wednesday. So get cozy, send your dad to the Shadow Realm, and know that this is your last chance to turn back. This is the most horrendous thing I will ever do, full of the most cursed information. This is the disturbing fanfictions iceberg. Fanfictions get pretty terrible, but this is going to get to a level of unholy, and this is your last chance. Turn back, or abandon all ye hope and succumb to despair. You still here? Okay, buckle your fuckles. Let's just dive right in as I go into this fucking shit swamp of pure, unadulterated suffering and cringe. Sonic.exe-Sonic. Now, this isn't very specific, so I don't know if OP is referencing an actual story here, but thankfully, for the sake of my soul, I couldn't find anything specific, and there is a broad range of Sonic.exe versus and or X-Sonic fanfiction, so whether or not they're fighting or fucking, these two tend to be paired together a lot by Wattpad authors. It's so empty without your giggity, Family Guy. It's so empty without your giggity is a fanfiction written about Quagmire's death, where this crazy son of a bitch jumps in front of a car to save a dog and a little kid and then dies, and then his sacrifice is immediately undone because, hey, Stewie has a time machine, why the fuck do we need to accept deaths? Not very cursed, not very notable. It is sad to see Quagmire die, I guess. I don't know. Family Guy characters are just like empty puppets used for the punchline of whatever that episode's joke is going to be. But I will say that the author of this could have done a lot more editing. There's like a spelling error or grammatical error every sentence, and that really made it a pain in the ass to read. I mean, subject matter was not that great, writing was but it exists. It's a thing. Blood Rose, RWBY. In a complete fucking twist from haha Quagmire dies, this posits one of the main characters of RWBY as a sadomasochistic serial killer who gets sexual pleasure from brutally murdering her victims. There's a lot more plot to that, but the main fact that she was a brutal fucking killer for most of the story is what sticks out to me as I read all 64 chapters of this. Well, folks, we did it, and now we're on to level 2. It only gets worse from here. So much worse. So I hope you're prepared. Catechism. This is a Harry Potter fanfiction, and I'd rather go read Blood Rose again before reading through this shit one more time, because Catechism is about Harry Potter, except he's been brainwashed completely obedient, and absolutely hates magic and everything he is. Catechism is where the Dursleys are not only evil, downright villainous, but smart, and I hate the fact that I had to read this. Catechism is actually genuinely, emotionally distressing to read, especially because Harry Potter was one of those books that I read alongside, Aragon growing up. So, Dreamfall, fuck you. Good writing, but fuck you. Rainbow Factory, My Little Pony. Oh god, I know My Little Pony entry was coming. You know, I spent hours watching this show because my younger sisters loved it so much, and I had 4 younger sisters, for about 13 years, it was just My Little Pony nonstop. It still goes to this day. Now, Rainbow Factory is a horror drama fanfiction rather than a weirdly horny one, which is cool. Not nearly as heartbreaking to read as the Harry Potter one was, but it involves rainbows, a powerful source of magic in the My Little Pony universe. Where do these bitches come from? Well, according to Rainbow Factory, it comes from enslaved, tortured, and brutally murdered horses. So, that's neat. It is very well written, I will give it that. But the fact that it's horses and that it just reminds me of 4chaners who live in their basement, it just can't take my head off of that. And I can't really enjoy it because, seriously, my brother. My Immortal. Oh, fuck me, I knew this blast from the past was coming. My Immortal is a poorly written vampire Harry Potter fanfiction involving a self-insert main character who is incredibly goth and teenaged and goes by the name of Ebony Dark Apostrophe-ness Dementia Way. Now, if that sounds cringe as hell to you, well, that's just the tip of the fucking iceberg. My Immortal is arguably the worst thing I've ever read, and I'd rather read the entirety of Shakespeare's discography than ever read My Immortal again. My Immortal is probably going to be the only one on this list that I don't actually read before I record this segment for, because I mistakenly read it as a dare when I was 12, and me reading My Immortal as the first fanfiction I ever read forever tainted my opinion of fanfiction writers, and to this day, I still ruthlessly mock them. And honestly, My Immortal deserves them all being mocked. Just a Joke, Smosh. Just a Joke is a Smosh fanfiction written all the way back in 2012, a fucking relic of the internet from when Smosh was still relevant, that revolves around the two main faces of Smosh, Anthony and Ian, realizing, holy shit, not only are we rich, we're lonely. And we can't get girlfriends when we're rich, because they'll only date you for your money. And then instead of crying and wiping their tears with $100 bills, they realize, hey, what if we just became each other's girlfriends? And then they start having gay sex. Yeah, that's neat. Overall, though, this one actually wasn't that bad. It's actually mildly wholesome in comparison to some of the others on this list. Really, I'd read it a second time versus reading some of the other things. Is it a little bit weird? Yeah, just a smidge, but it doesn't really bother me all that much, and it's not like fucking sadistic serial killer type shit or 64 chapters of bullshit that I had to read through for this video. Also, one of the last lines in the story is just a joke, which is where the entire fucking thing gets its name from, because rather than being gay, they're just having sex as a joke. Very Smosh, you know, fuck the homies for the lols. Also, this is on a Google Maps in Norway because my screen recorder kept fucking failing to record the goddamn story, so I guess you guys don't get to see any of that. Which is funny, because that's arguably one of the least cursed ones you could catch a snippet of, but let's just keep going. Rocket to Insanity. Oh boy, where to even begin? Rocket to Insanity is a My Little Pony grimdark fanfiction, which sees Rainbow Dash have repeated nightmares about cupcakes, so much so that she kills Pinkie Pie, and then becomes Church Guy from Left 4 Dead. It's a fucking trip. Popping 2 tabs of acid and then going to a rave probably would have been less confusing than how this story turned out. But I read it. That's a thing. You heard about it. Church Guy, Left 4 Dead 2. Lord of Darkness. Harry Potter. Lord of Darkness is a fantastically well-written Harry Potter fanfiction, one that I actually found myself enjoying as I read it to study for this video, that sees Harry Potter as even more charismatic, even more powerful, also sees Harry Potter as an orphan and as a cold-blooded murderer. Yes, Lord of Darkness follows Harry Potter if he was actually evil and that was the power he was given to defeat Voldemort. Experiments of Twilight Sparkle, My Little Pony. Another grimdark My Little Pony fanfiction. If you don't understand my exasperation when I say grimdark, that is a genre written around being soul-crushing, purely for the sake of soul-crushing, which in writing tends to mean weak writing, slapped up and fixed with a myth label. So yeah, the fun part about this one was that I couldn't fucking find it. Yes, after an hour of searching, I couldn't find this fanfiction, but I could piece enough about what it was about together to give you a analysis of what it is about. Basically, everyone in My Little Pony's got that weird fucking magic power, right? So Twilight Sparkle's like, I wonder how this works, and then Twilight Sparkle goes fucking Himmler on him. straps him onto a table and is like, okay, it's for science, kids, and then murders the main cast of My Little Pony to test their powers and how that shit works. So, yeah, that's pretty horrifying. We Were Warned Pokemon fanfic. Yeah. So, I have been searching for this one for a while. I'm just taking you back through some of the results. I even clicked on a few YouTube videos just to see if I could find it. The answer was, I could not. I have no fucking clue what the hell that is about, but, whatever I am being warned about in that story must have been so dark and so horrifying that the internet itself had to hide it from me. So, by proxy, it's hidden it from you. So if anyone knows what that's about, just let me know. But until then, yeah. Is that fucking Pokemon X Reader? What the fuck? Well, we've done it. We've made it to level 3 of the Iceberg. If you're still here, I'd like to take a moment to thank you for watching. It means the world to me that I get to make these videos and have an audience. Oh man, this one is going by slow, let me tell you. Normally I'm like, oh shit, I'm already on level 4 of this iceberg, the video's almost done, and now I'm like, oh fuck, I'm only on level 3 of this iceberg, what the hell? This genuine suffering that's going into making this video is how I know it's gonna do fantastically though, so let's just buckle our collective fuckles, prepare your assholes for some terrifying shit, and get a move on, baby. Cupcakes. Cupcakes is a My Little Pony fanfiction that is actually the precursor to Rainbow Factory, its direct successor. Cupcakes, as a matter of fact, is horrifying, and it really sets a stage for a lot of Rainbow Factory. But it's horrifying in a gruesome manner because it focuses around Pinkie Pie and her absolute love of cooking, specifically baking. The problem is that in order to bake these cupcakes, she needs one special ingredient: flesh. So, she gets this ingredient by randomly drawing numbers and then fucking jaboinking whoever gets shaboinkled. And in this case, it is freaking Rainbow Dash. And the story basically is just like, hey Rainbow Dash, wanna make some cupcakes? Yeah, sure. And then Rainbow Dash is brought back to life through questionable manners. Overall, I regret reading this. Daddy Dearest. Daddy Dearest is a Homestuck fanfiction that is literally just a gay incest sex scene. That's all it is. There is nothing added to the plot. There is only subtraction from the good in the world, with this being in existence. It is an in-depth sex scene between John and his father. Now, I personally stayed the fuck away from Homestuck, and with good purpose. Tumblr was a wild place. So I know nothing about this, but I do know that it's fundamentally wrong. And Hannah Falk Cross, wherever you are, I don't care that this is a joke fic, I don't forgive you. Little Miss Mary, Harry Potter. When I tell you this is the worst, most disgustingly, flamboyantly atrocious piece of garbage to have ever disgraced the English language, I tell you I don't think it can get much worse. Little Miss Mary is a fanfiction that is based around Severus Snape saving Harry Potter from the Death Eaters when his house goes kablooey. But this time, instead of Severus Snape's primary flaw being a raging asshole, his primary flaw is being a child predator. So he then takes Harry to the northern UK, where Harry proceeds to be gender-bent and dressed as a 14-year-old girl named Mary, and then they proceed to have disgusting and copious amounts of homoerotic sex. And it's not the fact that it's Severus Snape x Harry Potter, it's the fact that he is a child. Jay Schlatt is going to take my final thoughts on this disgusting subject from here.
What the fuck? What the fuck is this? That is not funny. That is not, there's nothing.
Fluttershy's Lullaby. Fluttershy's Lullaby is a okay written creepypasta about a forbidden episode of My Little Pony. Yep, it's the forbidden episodes gimmick. We've all seen it before. So basically, Fluttershy is actually killing real people while singing a mildly disconcerting little tune. And then she kills the main character's parents, and then she threatens to kill the main character. It's spooky at 3 a.m. Honestly, I'd rather read this than Little Miss Mary. Or Harry Potter. Let's just go ahead and take a look at the summary. The summer after his first year at Hogwarts, Harry returns to Privet Drive to learn his uncle has procured him a part-time job. That news isn't half as shocking as what the actual job entails. Interesting. Let's see the notes. Pay attention to the warnings and tags. Tags? What could possibly be in the tags that is so wrong? Relationships. Harry Potter, Fred Weasley, George Weasley, Harry Potter, Voldemort, Draco Malfoy, Harry Potter, Sirius Black, Harry Potter, Harry Potter, OMC, who the fuck? Harry Potter, multiple, Harry Potter, Graham Montague, Terrence Higgins. Harry's only 11!
What the fuck? What the fuck is this? That is not funny. That is not, there's nothing.
As I taint my search history forever and add myself to even more federal watch lists, let's see what fucking degeneracy is in the comments so I can take a break from reading this fucking mistake. Lexus, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm gonna add your bloodline for that comment, Lexus. 48 chapters of this degeneracy, of this mistake. Here's how the story ends. Harry Potter, after everything going wrong, the good guys losing, and then being kept as a sex slave for 2 years as he's extremely suicidal, stabs Voldemort to death because Voldemort got caught slacking. And then he takes over command of the Death Eaters, and then he's like, okay, I'm gonna go home now. So, yeah, I'm really glad that that's over. That's hours of my life I can't get back. Notes, I told you all it wouldn't end in complete misery. I still hate you. Just to the epilogue now. Actually, that's a lie. There's the epilogue and a 23,000-word sequel. To that, I say I would rather shoot myself. I'd rather listen to contemporary Christian music, and that is a genre so bad it doesn't even deserve to exist. So, to orphan account the writer of this story, first, you ought to feel ashamed for writing this, for ever willingly putting this to page. I wouldn't write this shit if there was a gun pointed to my head. Second, why aren't you writing furry porn? Furry porn writers get paid so much. That's how most freelance authors make a living, is by writing furry porn, because furries are weird, creepy, rich IT people that make other people rich by writing furry porn. And you can write in such detail, such fine, horrific detail, why aren't you writing furry porn? Anyways, orphan account, if I ever meet you in real life, I'm gonna make you feel equivalent pain that I felt while reading this. You ought to feel ashamed of yourself, 0 out of 10. Let's just get into the next one and sap my will to live even further. Experiment 21. Inanimate Insanity. Inanimate Insanity is a show revolving around inanimate characters that gain sentience and then participate in competitions. Weird shit, really obscure. Experiment 21 is, hey, what if we took 5 of the characters and threw them into a depraved situation in which 4 of them are locked in a room for science, and the other one just kind of sits there and watches. And yeah, it's about 4.5 hours of reading that. It's very long. I forget the actual chapter count. Let me go ahead and just... 34 chapters. And 2 of 4 characters die. The other 2 are finally breaking out of all of this. It was last updated June 19th of this year. Overall, not the worst thing I've read. Definitely better than a lot of the shit on this list. Mostly because it doesn't involve pedophilia. That's a nice touch. So, Fear Garden, IDFB. Another story centered around sentient but inanimate objects that also focuses on psychological horror as these groups are pitted against each other and there's sex for some weird reason. Overall, really not that disturbing. What was disturbing was the 12 hours read time that I cut down to about 9. That still just wasn't that good. You know, it wasn't that the story was disturbing or anything, it just wasn't that good. And with that, we're done with level 3, thank fucking god, and we're on to level 4, much to either my luck or my severe misfortune. I guess we'll find out, won't we? Also, quick side note before we continue. While all of these stories tend to be at best, meh, and at worst a blight upon the English language, I'd like to say that even though I am absolutely disrespecting the authors and will continue to do so, most of these are very talented people who simply chose a path of degeneracy instead. And if these people wrote a book that wasn't about, I don't know, 11-year-old boys having sex, I'd be pretty cool with it. So without further ado, put on your protective gear, pop some anti-STD medicine, and prepare your cringe meters, because we're going even further beyond. Become one with me, da. Hetalia. Hetalia is an obscure TV show that sees the nations of the world in a heavily satirized manner of what those nations are, and of modern political issues. Now, of course, because there are degenerates, sometimes they're shipped together and sometimes fanfictions are made. Become one with me, da. By the way, become is one word, not two. Whoever wrote this fucking mistake. Is a fanfiction in which Russia kidnaps China, rapes China, and then China develops Stockholm Syndrome. And Russia's bid to take over the world fails, but China, the oldest nation, and I guess the best because it's the oldest, is like, don't worry, Russia, I forgive you for tormenting me and raping me for a month. So, yeah. I read this, and it was a mistake. The Hat Fic. The Hat Fic is a ship of 2 YouTubers who do a channel together, buying a hamster and doing some shit that Eminem rapped about in Fac, which is shoving the hamster up their asses. This is, of course, after drowning it in a hat full of one of their cum, and then ripping its head off. So, yeah. And it ends with, and every month we buy a hamster to torment because we're sick, demented fucks. Why would somebody ever write this? And why would they write it like they were horny about it is what I want to know. Why were you like, animal brutality, dead rodents in my asshole. God, that gets me going. Who? It's not the poster here on Wattpad, thankfully. That's not the original author. I just want to know who, and I'm not going to do anything. Me and my shotgun just want to have a chat. Not me. Hetalia. Another weird country's fan fiction, but this time it's Britain and Japan. I think I haven't gotten the names down yet. Kidnapping one of the smaller Asian nations to try and get China to come to them in a desperate bid for power that ends with Britain dead and China on the run. This is another one of those really freaky deaky disturbing ones that has pedophilia in it.
What the fuck? What the fuck is this? That is not funny. That is not, there's nothing.
I don't understand what makes people think pedophilia is okay to write about and even glamorize in their writing, but it's not, and if you're one of those people, I'm gonna have to ask you to shut the fuck up before I take your throat out and make you shut the fuck up forever. The Skin Fic. With a name like that, we're absolutely certain that this one is gonna be a fucking doozy. So what is a Skin Fic about? Well, it's another Dan and Phil fic, but this time Dan lies to Phil about not needing sunscreen. And now, after their nude sunbathing session, his entire body is peeling, which leads to some sexually degenerate acts in which Dan eats Phil's skin and sucks Phil's peeling cock. I wish I was joking. I just gotta say that, first of all, the person who posted this has a K-pop PFP, absolutely what I expect from K-pop fans and stans, degenerates that they can be sometimes. Also, I am never ever going to respect anyone who ever watches Dan and Phil. Again, I don't know them personally, I've never seen their YouTube channel, but after getting this little taste of the fandom, I don't want to be associated with that. Dipper goes to Taco Bell. This is one of those stories that isn't written from a place of genuineness or a place of want for the story. As a matter of fact, it's a story written for the sake of making you feel disgusted in a very cringy manner that doesn't make me feel as disgusted as some of the other stories on this list. So what is Dipper Goes to Taco Bell about? Well, Dipper goes to Taco Bell. He gets a taco. He eats the taco and then he has explosive diarrhea. After shitting his pants, he's like, wow, I've got a boner. So he jacks off, comes, sucks his own cock, bites it off, and fucking dies. Then, Mabel finds his corpse, fucks his dead corpse, and then is brutally fucking murdered. And then the murderer, who happens to be Zeus, chops up the two corpses and puts them in the tacos. Yeah.
What the fuck? What the fuck is this? That is not funny. That is not, there's nothing.
Agony and Pink, Power Rangers. A Power Rangers one. Oh boy, can't wait to ruin another part of my childhood. Let's just get into this. I lost the Wayback Machine link that took me to the story, and I'm not going to spend the 30 minutes to dig that bitch up again. Agony and Pink is basically the Pink Power Ranger Kimberly being raped to death over the course of 8 chapters by some monster called Lord Zed. If that sounds terrible to you, that's because it is. Subjugation. Subjugation is a bout of depravity longer than the Philosopher's fucking Stone that involves evil Dumbledore, hermaphrodite Snape, sex slaves, and also sex slave owning evil Dumbledore.
What the fuck? What the fuck is this? That is not funny. That is not, there's nothing.
That's about the root of it. Basically, evil Dumbledore claims that Severus Snape seduced him. And because of that, he gets Snape pregnant and then is like, surprise, I own you. The Milk Fic. Despite being listed as a Dan and Phil story and making me afraid I would see some more sick shit from those two, it's not. This is actually a Panic at the Disco fanfiction, which somehow makes it worse. It involves Brendan Urie and Ryan Ross, in which Brendan Urie gives Ryan Ross a milk enema while fisting his asshole, and then eats the milk out of his asshole. Isn't that interesting? Worse still is the fact that the Milk Fic isn't nearly as bad as some of the other shit on this iceberg. Here we are, after how many hours of purgatory I've spent sifting through this hellscape so that you may have a 30 to 45 minute video. Here we finally are, the last level. If you've made it this far, I'd like to take a moment to thank you. Not only for watching my videos, as I always thank everyone for, but also for being able to withstand this level of disgust. It's kind of secondhand disgust. You can almost feel the loathing within me through these recordings that go into this video. But this is some vile, foul shit, and I have spent far too much of my life reading about this. So without further ado, let's just get the worst over with. Let's get on to the final level of the iceberg. The Danish Slaughterhouse, another long-ass fucking obnoxious Hetalia fan fiction. So let me tell you what it's about. It has child rape, murder, and all of the bullshit of characterized nations somehow having none of the character that made the series successful. I take back almost everything, even slightly positive, I've ever said about fanfiction authors. This iceberg has ruined the perception for me. Sweet Apple Massacre. I should have known by the amount of time it took me to find this piece of shit story that I simply shouldn't have ever read it, that the Lord himself was trying to tell me to turn back now, or that woe would be upon me. And instead I read it. So, here's what it's about. Big Macintosh finds a cutie mark crusaders, kidnaps all of them, brutally disembowels them, and also rapes them. Now mind you, Big Macintosh is Big Horseman, and cutie mark crusaders are like 8-year-old little girls in the story.
What the fuck? What the fuck is this? That is not funny. That is not, there's nothing.
So yeah, that was pretty disgusting to read. And it was in detail, so whoever originally wrote that, I'm gonna keep your head in a glass jar like it's a fucking trophy when I find you. Trixie's Funhouse. Oh boy, another My Little Pony grimdark. This one is actually not nearly as bad as anything else on this list because it's satire. It's simply mocking My Little Pony grimdark, a sentence that should have never existed to begin with. I did have the original story pulled up at some point researching this video, but it's lost in the hellscape that is my Google history, and I've cleared that shit at least 6 times because I don't need to be on any more FBI watch lists. So there's no way I'm finding that again, and at this point I'm not going to find that again, so we can have the fandom page, which will basically tell you that it's satire. It's intentionally poorly written, and it's on fanfiction.net, home of all this shitty-ass writing, just like a lot of other websites. And it's a psychotic killer who, of course, fools the innocent 8-year-old little girls, cutie mark crusaders, into entering her funhouse where she can fucking kill them. Massacre. Happy Tree Friends. I tried to find this story, I really did. The problem is that everything fan-related to Happy Tree Friends has fucking massacre in the name. So, just like the very first entry on this iceberg, I have no fucking clue what I'm looking for. Isn't that funny how we came full circle? But I will say that Happy Tree Friends has got to be some of the dumbest shit ever made. That's not to insult the artist, except it is, because Happy Tree Friends is basically just built around cartoon characters murdering each other. I really see no point, I see no statement, I see no purpose. And sometimes things can be purposeful, but that's not the good kind of purposeful. That's just the arrogant asshole kind of purposeful. So yeah, that's my hot take on Happy Tree Friends. Let's just get this bitch over with. Well, lads, lasses, and le-enbies, we finally did it. It's over. Now let me be a whore for a second. If you're still watching, if you made it this far, go ahead and just subscribe. Not only am I clearly mildly entertaining, but it's also entirely free, and it helps me pursue my dreams. So if you liked the video, or you liked the jokes, go ahead and just push that button. Thank you very much. That's enough of me being a self-shilling whore. Now, this iceberg has genuinely been the most excruciating one I've ever made. I'd rather rewatch a Grubhub ad for hours at a time again than do this shit another time. I've witnessed in person some pretty fucked up shit and read a lot of fucked up shit on the internet, and some of this stuff was fucked up. So, trust me, just let my explanations be enough. Don't go and read most of these. If I ever see the authors of most of these stories, I'm gonna knock them the fuck out. I mean, I'm talking knock them the fuck out so hard, that their teeth fall out. They owe me teeth. I'm going to be taking their teeth as trophies. So, without further ado, I think I'm gonna end this video now before I make any more violent threats. Have a wonderful time, and memento mori.